Do you read with your eyes or with your subconscious? Now, if you're like, well, most of us, you instantly say your eyes, right? I mean, you look at a page or a screen and you read the text. Makes sense. But what if I told you that almost everything the traditional school system taught us about reading and processing information is literally entirely backwards? To actually prove this, the source material brings up this really fascinating experiment called the 90-second baseline test. In the original seminar, they basically asked participants to grab a book, flip to a random chapter, and just read normally for exactly 90 seconds. Now I know, just hearing the word test gives a lot of people the chills. The seminar actually calls this the wounded student syndrome. We've been so beaten down by exams and grades that even as adults, a simple reading test makes our skin crawl. But look, this isn't about getting a grade. It's just about establishing a starting point, like finding your "you are here" red dot on a map, just to see how you naturally process data, how fast you go, and how distracted you might get. To move past that slow, old-school way of reading, we really have to understand the actual accelerated learning model. See, accelerated learning isn't just looking at words. It's an active process broken down into 3 distinct steps. Step 1 is decoding. That's your input phase, basically prepping your brain to receive information. Step 2 is synthesis, which is loading that information into your subconscious database and sort of merging it with what you already know. And then step 3 is activation, how you actually go out and apply that information. The absolute crucial takeaway here is we need to shift our mindset from just reading a book to actively processing data. Okay, so why don't we naturally just process data this efficiently from the start? Well, because we all fell into these school-taught traps. The education system basically hardwired us with habits that severely bottleneck our processing speeds. We're taught that reading is a purely visual thing, which makes us stare super hard at every single word. And if our mind wanders for a second, we rigidly stop and reread the parts we missed. But the absolute worst offender is what we call the internal prompter. You know that little voice in your head, the one sub-vocalizing and silently speaking every single word to make sure you don't miss anything? Yeah, that approach makes reading an incredibly slow and tedious slog. Does the meaning actually live in the text you're looking at? Think about it. If that last sentence had been written in a language you didn't know at all, like, say, Chinese, it would have just been unmemorable visual noise to you, right? You wouldn't have been able to recall a single character. The meaning, the punctuation, the grammar, none of it actually exists inherently in those shapes. The research actually confirms that the meaning doesn't live on the page at all. It lives in your head. More specifically, it lives in your subconscious database. If you didn't already have the semantic seeds of the English language stored deep in your brain, you simply couldn't extract the meaning from that sentence. In a weird way, every book you pick up in a language you already know is actually already inside your head. You're just using the physical text as a trigger for what you already possess. And that realization leads to one of the most shocking statistics from the whole research. 5%. The actual physical process of reading, like the raw visual data entering through your eyes, accounts for only 5% of your information processing. Literally just 5%. So the absolutely crucial point here is this. Your brain is quietly filling in the remaining 95% using the massive database of knowledge it already has. And this completely shatters how we traditionally think about speed reading because, well, if visual input is only 5% of the equation, then working purely on eye speed, just forcing your eyes to dart faster across a page, is practically useless if you aren't addressing the internal cognitive process. You have to shut off that internal prompter and let your brain do its natural synthesis. And the sorting power of your brain is just incredible. You know those internet memes where the letters in a paragraph are totally scrambled, or the bottom half of the text is just chopped off, but you can somehow still read it perfectly? The source material emphasizes that your brain honestly doesn't care if the text is super technical or just conversational. It automatically sorts incoming information and matches it with what you already know. In fact, you can often read scrambled or half-missing text even faster than normal text. Crazy, right? It's because the scrambling forces you to bypass those slow, tedious school reading habits, and your brain just instantly grabs the overarching meaning. To really wrap our heads around why our brains are this adaptable, we kind of need to dive into the physics of the eye. Think back to high school optics. Fundamentally, your eyes are just lenses. And if you remember how a basic convex lens works, it actually projects images upside down. So your eyes are literally receiving the entire world upside down right now, and your brain is flipping the image in real time so you can function normally. You are doing complex, high-level image manipulation every single second of your life without even trying.
This actually perfectly sets up this unbelievable experiment on neuroplasticity. Researchers created these complex glasses that completely flipped the wearer's vision, upside down and right to left. On day one, as you'd expect, people were stumbling around, running into walls. But within just 1 week, the brain of every single participant had fully adapted. They could walk, study, read, and just live completely normal lives while seeing the world completely flipped. But here's the wild part. When they finally took the glasses off after that week, they started stumbling around again. Their brains actually needed another full week to adapt back to so-called normal vision.
But the researchers didn't stop there. They decided to have the participants put the glasses on, take them off, put them back on, take them off again. And as they repeated this exposure, the time it took for their brains to adapt just plummeted. It went from a week to just a couple of days, until finally, the adaptation time was exactly 0. Subjects could instantly switch between normal and upside-down vision with 0 delay, just by putting the glasses on or taking them off. Basically, your brain can adapt to almost any input condition if you just train it to. All right, we're going to do one last physical test together right now. I want you to close your eyes, raise your dominant hand, and just write your first name in the air. Just trace the letters. Pretty simple, right? I mean, you've written your name a million times. Okay, now keep your eyes closed. I want you to write your name in the air again, but this time, do it using your nose. Or, if you want, use your elbow. Go ahead, physically move your nose or your elbow and trace out the letters of your name in the air. You probably feel a little ridiculous doing it, but you can do it, right? It might not be the most elegant penmanship, but you successfully traced those letters. All right, you can open your eyes. Think about what just happened. Who taught you how to write with your elbow? Did you attend a special elbow writing academy? Did you practice that for hours? Of course not. You were never taught to do this in your entire life, yet you executed it perfectly on the very first try. How? Because your brain already holds the overarching concept of your name and the abstract shape of those letters. It didn't need to relearn the mechanical process. It literally just took the existing software and ran it on a brand new piece of hardware, your elbow. And all of this brings us to this absolutely beautiful quote derived right from the seminar. Your brain is already doing amazing things every second. We just need to saddle these processes. See, accelerated learning isn't about slowly and painfully learning how to do something entirely new from scratch. It is all about unlocking and harnessing the immense processing power your brain is already inherently wired to do. You just have to get out of your own way and let your subconscious take the reins. So I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. If your brain can instantly read upside-down, completely scrambled words, and if you can write perfectly with your elbow without a single second of prior training, what else is your mind secretly capable of? What artificial limits were placed on you by the traditional school system that you could just shatter today?